We live and we learn. Last year, I 27 lived with my boyfriend at the time in a 3BR townhome. We decided to go our separate ways, and he made the choice to move out, leaving me with too high of rent for myself and 2 cats, so I sought out a roommate. After filtering through FB Marketplace messages, I come across a guy, we'll call him Jimmy, 30M, and I see we have mutual friends. I agree to meet and show him the place because he seemed super nice, and I had no preference on male-female roommate, since there was enough room for one person to be on the main level and I'd stay on the top floor. We had a great interaction. He mentioned having a full-time job, plus doing YouTube and making his own music on the side. He seemed a little awkward and nerdy, but I was fine with it, so we agreed to be roommates. Keep in mind, since I already put a deposit down, he wasn't held responsible for that, and I already had utilities in my name. Also, all the furniture was mine other than what was in his bedroom. We agreed to split utilities 50-50, and he'd pay a little less than half of rent, because I was using 2BR and he was only using 1BR. He said his car was getting fixed, so at least for the short term, I'd have the garage all to myself. He expressed concerns of needing to find a place quickly, so I agreed to let him move in a week sooner, even though I was a little uncomfortable letting him move in while I was going out of town for a trip. But I agreed because he was stressed about couch surfing, and it would benefit me to get a second income towards rent faster. Anyways, I get back to town very late on a Sunday night, and as I'm pulling into the garage, I notice a car seat and couple kids' toys to the side. I thought that was weird, but I figured he didn't have any kids, because surely you'd tell your roommate you had kids, right? That's common courtesy and kind of a big deal, right? Fast forward 2 weeks, I'm sitting up in my room and see my Ring doorbell go off. 2 kids, one was a 7-year-old girl and the other was 3-year-old boy, and I think on the spectrum, are greeted by Jimmy. I continue listening, but I hear the words, "Dad," a few too many times, and run downstairs and pull him away from the kids. I asked him if those were his kids, and he said yes. Much more was said, but I'm only stating the main exchanges of our conversation. I asked Jimmy why he didn't tell me he had kids, and he said something to the effect of, well, they're good kids, so I didn't think it was a big deal. Plus, they only come every other weekend. I was heated and told him he needed to find another place to live. But after a couple of days, I thought to myself, I can handle 2 kids, 2 days every other weekend, if it means I don't have to pay rent by myself. I was considering moving out of state 3 to 5 months down the road anyways, so I knew it was only temporary. After that incident, things were great. He'd watch my cats if I needed to, and didn't ask for anything. I'd ask about how his YouTube channel was doing. Typical roommate interactions. I had fairly minor complaints for a couple of months. It bothered me when his kids drank in the living room, on my furniture, or watched the TV loud enough for people in Canada to hear. He'd smoke weed in the bathroom, thinking if he turned the fan on, he wouldn't create a smell. Low IQ, have an ass bitch. He'd also ask to pay me late for rent, but I was too nice to say no. He said he had to pay for his son's daycare. I'm such an idiot, I know. A couple months as roommates pass, then one day, as I'm scrolling on Facebook, I see a photo Jimmy posted of him and his daughter. She was wearing my shirt. I was shaking mad within seconds, because I understand that laundry can get mixed up. but I just had a feeling that wasn't how she got a hold of my shirt. I texted him immediately, but politely, pointing out that his daughter had my shirt and I want it back. I had to ask him several times, and every time he'd tell me his baby mama is batshit crazy and won't return it. I'd never met her, so I believed him. We were living together for 3 months before I told him I was moving out of state for grad school. He planned to continue living there, and his cousin was going to move in. He even said, "If there's anything you want to sell, let me know, because I don't have any furniture." I thought, dope, so I let him know of a few things I'd like to sell and let him know the price. He was interested in all of it and agreed on the price. As I'm a few weeks from moving this, get really tense, I let him know he owes me quite a bit of money for the furniture, utilities he'd gotten behind on, rent reimbursement since I wasn't staying for the entire month, but his YouTube channel was doing so well, right? And I still wanted my MF t-shirt back. When I confronted him about the money, he got super defensive and said I was crazy, that apparently I had said some of the furniture was free. He kept saying, "You'll get your money." Whatever. Keep in mind, I'm moving out of state, so I had to get a U-Haul. So I didn't exactly have extra money at that point in time. Plus, what he's referring to as my money is his half of the utilities. This MF Jimmy owes me close to $600. Now, we're at my last night in town, and Jimmy still owes me money. I'm pissed, but we've gotten along for the most part. He even helped me pack my U-Haul a little bit. We had another conversation about the money. He sent half over PayPal and said he'd send the rest when he gets his next paycheck. I really didn't have a choice but to trust him since I was set to leave the next day. This night, he also shared with me that him and his cousin would not be living there, and he was going to find another place to live at the end of the month. He said, "Don't worry, I'll clean the main floor when I leave. I really want you to get your deposit back." Since he said he was leaving at the end of the month, I, again, was a dummy and offered to leave utilities in my name. It was for only about 10 more days, and he said he'd return what was needed for the internet company. A couple of weeks go by, and I'm settling into my new home when I get an email that the internet router was never turned in and I owed a lot of money. I text him multiple times with no response. This next day, I get texts and photos from the landlord saying Jimmy left and didn't clean the place. Not only did he not clean before leaving, the downstairs floor was absolutely disgusting. I was livid and let my anger get the best of me. I called Emphy Jimmy and left him a nasty but valid voicemail. It was then that I knew I'd never see another dime from that broke ass. He owes, notice that's present tense, me about $650 in total. He eventually texted me saying I must have lost my mind when I moved, blah, blah, blah. He also claimed that the pictures the landlord sent were fake. LOL. He ended up blocking me on everything, so now I have no way of reaching him, other than the occasional angry email or PayPal request I'll send him. I found out it's been almost 3 months since I moved, and I still can't get over it. I want revenge, but I know I can't go after him legally. I'm so mad still and get shaky when I think about it. I know I made some mistakes that could have prevented this, but hindsight is, I want to ruin his aspiring YouTube career because it means so much to him. And it's all I can think of to do from so far away. But I didn't do anything except angry.